The darkness continues.
Peace, folk, and welcome back to another edition of the Proper the Thought series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why your black asses are here. Now I'm back with another. And yes, the darkness does continue. Now today, what we're talking about is no exodus in the name of justice. This lady that you see here in the bottom left-hand corner is the Honorable Melanie Williams. She's one of the many judges there inside of Fulton County that I've been watching lately. Those of you who follow the Proper Thought series, y'all know that, I've been bringing y'all a lot of these court cases, and I only bring you the ones that kind of stick out to me. Judge Williams, I see her from time to time. I haven't seen her a lot because I do believe she's a pro-hat judge. I do believe that. I think she does a lot of covering for other judges. I don't really believe she's a regular judge. So I don't see her that much, but I do see her from time to time. She's pretty fair. She's one of the more stoic judges, but she's pretty fair. I mean, I must admit, looking at some of these judges from Fulton County, and I know y'all hear me say this a lot, most of them are pretty fair judges that I've seen thus far. The ones that I watch, I don't watch them all, but the ones I do watch seem to be pretty fair, and Judge Williams is one of the fairer ones. Now, you're going to see in her courtroom today how she doles out her justice. She's going to have a couple domestic violence cases come before her, and she's going to handle them a little differently than other judges that I've seen handle them, given the circumstances. But I don't want to give too much of it away. You'll get to see the Honorable Judge Williams in action for yourself. So, without further delay, let's get at it. As stated, we are in the courtroom of the Honorable Melanie Williams, and the dude that's about to come up, he's been arrested for allegedly something domestic, and we're going to see now how the good Honorable Melanie Williams handles this case. So, let's get at it. And as always, Negroes, fair use.
Position 7, Mr. Collins.
All right. Good afternoon, sir. Your case is 22 CR 0084838H. In this case, you're charged with battery, family violence, and simple battery, family violence, with the offense date of December the 23rd.
Now, you see, he's been accused of two family violence things, battery and domestic. Of course, he's got two charges, but we continue.
You understand your rights?
I do.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Howard, can I have that history, please?
First.
Oh, first. You're right. I didn't have that. All right. Ms. Brown, we'll go straight to you.
Yes, Judge. Officers responded to this incident, and this is a dual arrest case, Judge.
Now, you heard the Solicitor General. The Solicitor General says that this is a dual arrest, cross-defendant, meaning whoever he got into this domestic violence, alleged domestic violence altercation with, they got arrested as well. Now, you remember, last week I brought you good folk a case that was similar to this, where it was dual dual defendants, a man and a woman. They both got arrested for the same charge. But the man was forced to leave the house even though it was his house and the lease was in his name. He was forced to leave the house. And the woman was allowed to stay even though she was unemployed and her name was not on the lease at said house. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
The other person arrested is Stella.The. When they responded out to the location and they spoke with Mr. Colon, when they spoke with Ms. Dacunha, Dacunha, she told the police that she had been in a physical dispute with Mr. Colon, that they got in a dispute over a Wells Fargo bank account, and he became aggressive, snatched her phone, and in the process of snatching her phone and them struggling over the phone, she received an abrasion to her middle finger. She also received a scratch to her lower leg, and she also advised the police that he choked her in the process of that struggle. Officers asked her more about that. She indicated that she never lost consciousness, but he did in fact choke her. And so that's the basis of the charges against him. The recommendation is a $3,500 surety bond. A no further contact was Stella.Dacunha, and a stay away from the location.
Now notice they go right into saying the man has to stay away, even after saying they were both arrested for this. The first thing they do is say the man has to stay away. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Okay. Is it alleged that they both live there together? I'm assuming so.
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Hope, you must not represent the cross defendant. Ms. McLeod, you represent Ms. Dacunha. Is Ms. McLeod here? Does Ms. McLeod represent position 12?
Yes, she does.
She does. Okay. We'll have to figure out the residence part. Go ahead, Ms. Hope, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Colon is 39 years old, Your Honor. He's lived in here for all of his life. He has significant ties here. He's lived here for 4 years, and he has significant ties here. He right now lives with her as well with his son, Max, 6 years of age. The address is his, not hers, and he lives there with his son as well. So if there has to be a split apart, Your Honor, it would be that she would need to leave because that's where he has and lives with his son, Max.
Now listen to his public defender. Right off top, public defender is like, hey, if anybody need to leave, it needs to be her because it's his house that he lives in with his kid. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Whom then he also shares joint custody with Max's mother, Laura. He has a high school degree as well as a BA in aerospace from San Diego, as well as a culinary degree. He, as I said, he has been here for 4 years. He has come here to be with Miss Stella, who he's been in a relationship with. He works with the Fifth Group restaurant that he's worked there for now 15 years. He has significant ties here. He has a significant job here. He has a child, so he is not a flight risk. So we do believe that he has no criminal history whatsoever. So we do believe a signature bond is warranted here. He understands that there may be a no contact. If that's the case, then she would need to move, as that is his residence with his child, Your Honor. So we do believe, like we said, that signature is warranted in this case.
All right. At this time, defendant will receive a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial services.
Now, at least he can sign on the dotted line and walk on out. But we continue.
Broken down, 2,000, count 1, 1,500, count 2. He is to take a 1-day anger awareness course, have no contact with the cross defendant, and have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons as a condition. Is there anything further?
For judge.
For judge.
Now, notice the judge did not say he had to leave his place. Now, it's standard, y'all get to an alleged scuffle, no contact with this person that you got into the scuffle with. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
And Your
Never
Honor, if I
mind.
could just chime in briefly, we're going to be
Yes.
asking that the female defendant be allowed to return.
Now, the voice you hear chiming in, I believe, is like one of the lead solicitor generals, Ian something or another. The guy is just, forget it. We continue.
She also is a resident of the home, and his case is actually under review of the DA's office because it seems as though he may have been the primary aggressor, seeing how he strangled her. So we're going to be asking for a stay away. She also is a resident, and she will need somewhere to stay as well.
Now, you hear him talking about she's also a resident, so she should be able to stay there, even though it's his house. But we continue.
Wait,
Your Honor,
to clarify, hold on, Mr. Walker. Are you saying that the residence is hers?
I'm saying that she's lived there for more than 30 days under Georgia law that considers her to be a tenant and a resident at the resident, irrespective to whose name is on the lease.
Now, y'all heard that. If you're living there more than 30 days, according to Georgia law, according to Mr. Ian freaking Solicitor General Walker here, irrespective of whose name is on the lease, she should be able to stay because she's legally a tenant, even though it's not her house because she's the female. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Right,
She's
I
resided there more than
understand.
30 days. So because his case is under felony review, we are asking him to stay away from the address and allowing the female defendant to return.
Now, his contention is that because his case is under felony review, which it isn't at this time, obviously, that alone should be the reason why he has to leave his house, even though it's known that it's his house, right? He should have to leave because his case is under felony review. She should be allowed to stay there simply because of that. But we all know the real reason why they want him to leave. Because he's the man in this case. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Your Honor, his son stays with him. So you're asking him and his son to move out. I do believe it's more appropriate for her.
I didn't mention his son's name. I mentioned him. I'm asking him to stay away from the residence that he shares with her.
The son is not hers.
Miss Hope, 1 second. If we were to grant this stay away, is there any other place defendant can stay?
No, Your Honor, this is his resident with his son.
Yes, it's his residence with his son. The woman who is the cross defendant who got arrested for the same exact thing, this is not her son. He has custody of this boy with the boy's mother, not this woman. So if you tell him he can't stay there, you're automatically telling him he has to leave with his son. Because what is he supposed to do? Leave the residence and leave his son there with the woman who's not his mother? But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Your
His
Honor,
son
I
is not, Miss Stella is not the co-defendant's son, it's his son.
Okay, 1 second.
I'm not
Miss
missing his
McLeod.
son.
Your Honor, I
Mr. Walker,
represent.
1 second, Miss Walker. Miss McLeod, yes?
Now, here comes Miss McLeod. She's not the worst public defender that I've seen on these cases, but she's definitely number 2 or 3. Okay, definitely. You got her. You got one of the worst public defenders on the planet, at least in Georgia. If you're in Georgia, and she's representing you, you have just found yourself with one of the worst public defenders ever. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
I represent the cross-defendant, Your Honor.
Now, she represents the female in this case. But we continue.
And I have spoken with her. She tells me that she can stay with her mom.
Okay, so we're going to leave it as is. He can return to his home.
The judge is leaving it as is. He gets to return to his house, even though the Solicitor General office wants him to leave his house. This judge sees the fairness over the quote-unquote justice. And we got a little bit of some glitching going on, so hopefully that don't distract you, Negroes. I don't know what's going on in the bottom right-hand corner, y'all, and I don't think they do either, but we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
And we're going to allow the cross defendant to stay away from that address.
Exactly. They both get arrested for the exact same charge that they allegedly committed against each other. The house is in his name. Why should he have to leave it? Simply because the other person has a vagina. That's ridiculous. If you two get in an altercation, it's your house. Why do you have to leave it? Because guess what? If it were her house, he would have to leave. Would he not? He would have to leave. But if they get into an altercation and it's his house, the freaking Solicitor General wants him to still leave, even though it's his place. He pays the rent, the mortgage, he pays the lights, the gas, the water, and probably buys the food and pays the car notes. But he has to leave. I respect the Honorable Melanie Williams. Here, I do. Because unlike other judges that I brought you in the past, y'all know how this would go. Even though it's his place, they get arrested for the exact same charge. Other judges would force him to leave his place. Now, granted, I think the fact that he lives there with his son is what kept him there, because it's his son and not this woman's son. So I think that played in his favor to a degree. But I say again, the Honorable Judge Williams did the right thing here. Even though the Assistant Solicitor General here at the bottom left-hand corner wanted him to leave the house. And even her boss chimed in from off screen to get him to leave his house. But the judge said no. He gets to stay in his house with his son. Her ass has to get out. And that's the way it should be. There should be no exodus by the person who lives there, who owns it, who pays the bills, whose name is on the paperwork. Y'all get into a scrap. If y'all are not together on that property, the person with the most interest in the property should be allowed to stay there. Because that's how it would be if it was the other way around. It's the woman's house. Her name's on the mortgage. Her name's on the lease. She's paying the bills. Y'all get into an altercation. You both get arrested. Guess what? They're going to tell you to leave. So if it's your house, y'all get into an altercation, her ass should hit the streets. Not you. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
All right. Thank you for that point of clarification, Ms. McLeod.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right. Does that conclude Mr. Kalan's case? It does. All right. Best of luck to you, sir. Can we take the cross-defendant case now? Is that possible?
Y'all see that glitch in the bottom left, in the bottom right-hand corner? I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on there, y'all. I have no idea. But we continue.
Or no?
What position is that?
Stella DeCoon, I don't know what
Position 12. Is that possible?
Now they're sounding for the cross defendant now, but she's not gonna come up. I think she's in another courtroom or something. But we continue. Y'all just enjoy that.
What's going on?
Matrix.
I believe
Is anyone else seeing a glitch in the Zoom?
Yeah, I see yours.
Yes, we're seeing it, Your Honor. I know it's distracting you, good folk. Just try to ignore it.
Well, yeah, because it got my cloud. Man.
Okay.
We can still hear you though.
You can't. Can you see me?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's you and Brown. It's going from screen to screen, but we can hear you, so we good.
And see you.
Okay, as long as we can. All right. I was questioning whether or not we could take Stella DeCunha's position.
They are in courtroom 3, but they having a breakout.
Oh, they're having that breakout. Okay, that's fine. All right. Who do we have next?
Position 9, Mr.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Coppage. Your case is 22 CR 008481A. In this case, you're charged with simple battery, family violence, 2 counts with the offense date of January the 11th. Do you understand your rights?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Howard.
Now you heard him. His case was almost a year ago, right? They said in January. He's also there on a domestic, because most of these cases that come before the Honorable Williams here are usually, domestic battery, domestic violence, et cetera, criminal trespass, that kind of thing. So he's been arrested for something he did damn near a year ago. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
11 total. Last was 2019, simple battery, family violence, misdemeanor possession of marijuana. 2018, obstruction. 2015, he had an ag assault. It was amended to a pointing pistol at another, 2 counts. That was a conviction.
Okay.
2014, theft by taking, probation violation. Came off a 2013 arrest. 2012, obstruction, 2 counts, preventing or disrupting law meetings or gatherings, conviction. That's it.
Thank you.
So the brother's got a little bit of a criminal past, but we continue.
All right, Ms. Brown.
Yes, Judge. On this case in January, was it January 1st? Officer Jones arrived at 469 Marietta Street. He met with Brittany Hopkins, the victim, who indicated that her son's father, Mr. Christopher Coppage, assaulted her. When she was getting ready for work, he accused her of going to meet another guy. He grabbed her right arm, pushed her into the wall. As she attempted to leave, he punched her in the right face. There was a witness that heard the commotion, heard Ms. Hopkins scream, "Get off of me," opened the door and saw the defendant on top of Ms. Hopkins punching her. The recommendation in this case is a $6,000 surety bond, $3,000 per count, no further contact with Brittany Hopkins.
Now, of course, that's standard. They're going to say, well, you got to stay away from her. Now, if you look in the second row, in the far right, Brittany Hopkins is there with 2 young fellas with her. I don't know why she has the kids on the screen. I hate when people do this kind of crap. The kids don't have nothing to do with this. Why you got them on the screen? But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Day of anger management, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Judge, the basis for it obviously is the seriousness of the charge. In addition to his criminal history, there's quite a bit of violence in his criminal history. Although the ag assault was reduced, there was a pointing a pistol at another. There was a battery charge conviction from 2013. There was the obstruction from 2018, the obstruction from 2013, Judge. And so we have serious concerns about.
Now she's rambling off charges that are like old as hell. All right, some of these charges are 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and she's rambling them off like they happened yesterday. But, you're talking about the Solicitor General, so anything within the last, 10 years or so, they're going to ramble them off and make it seem like you're the worst person in the world. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
About our victim in this case, also that he is also at risk to commit further offenses in this case, Judge. So we would just ask for that $6,000 surety.
All right, I see Ms. Hopkins on the line. Ms. Hopkins, if you'd like to make a statement, I need you to unmute your screen and I need to place you under oath. Would you like to make a statement?
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth to the best of your knowledge and under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right, the court is most concerned with whether you'd like to have contact with the defendant. What would you like to tell me at this time?
Yes, I would like to have. Yes, I would like to have contact with the defendant.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to let me know?
We got an apartment together, and these two right here together, and we don't fight or argue no more. We've been in the apartment since April, and everything's been going well.
All right, thank you, Ms. McLeod.
Now, her saying that, she's kind of pleading his case, right? Now, some judges would hear this and wouldn't care. They would say, well, so what? You need to stay the hell away from it. Now, mind you, this is something that happened a year ago. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 28 years old. He and Miss Hopkins share two children, two sons, a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. This incident happened approximately a year ago, Your Honor. It was the 11th of January that this happened. And at the time, my client and Miss Hopkins were in a really bad place. They were homeless. They were living in a shelter. So things were very strained between them. The incident happened there. Since then, they have straightened things out. They've gotten their lives together. They have an apartment together and have been raising these two boys together. I had the opportunity to speak with Miss Hopkins earlier today, and she tells me that they are in a really good place now. And as she testified to the court, they haven't had any issues at all. Both of them are trying to get back to school so they can do better for their boys. And they tell me they're also trying to go to church and sort of trying to get their life together. I understand this is a year old, Your Honor, and they've been living together since with no issues.
Didn't I tell you? She's not the worst public defender I've seen, but she's up there. She is up there. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
I understand that my client does have a bit of a history, Your Honor, but it is old. He doesn't have anything open, and things are going well between them. So I would ask the court to give him a signature bond so he can get home to help Miss Hopkins with the boys, and that he can also get back to work, Your Honor, to help out with his family. Nothing further.
Now, what do y'all think the judge is going to do? Now, I know I brought you court cases in the past, and y'all are probably thinking one thing, but the Honorable Melanie Williams here is going to surprise you. But we continue.
All right. At this time, defendant will receive a $5,000 surety bond, $250 on each charge. He is to have no further violent contact with the victim, last name Hopkins, and have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Now, no more violent contact is different from no contact. No contact, he can't go back home. No violent contact, he hit her, his ass going to jail. But he can go back to the house. He can go back to the house. A house that he more than likely pays for. A house that he more than likely fronts the bills for. They got 2 kids. So he gets to go back to his house. Another case where an exodus does not have to take place in the name of justice. Do you understand what I'm saying? Both. An exodus does not have to take place in the name of justice. But I'm going to before we go, I'm going to hit y'all in the head with a bonus clip. Yeah, it's time for a bonus clip because I like to throw one of these in there every now and then. I believe this is not a domestic though. This is something else. This is pretty much just for a few laughs here and there. This person here is in here for criminal trespass, but it's a very colorful kind of case. It's very colorful. All right. So let's get at it. And fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Position 10, we're ready for the two interpreter cases, please.
All right, thank you. Mr. Crawford, your case is 22 CR 00842F. In this case, you're charged with criminal trespass with the offense date of December the 23rd. Do you understand your rights?
Yes.
Now, we're talking about criminal trespass. By now, I've brought enough of these to y'all that y'all know what this is. Criminal trespass is you somewhere and someone tells you to leave because they have to trespass you, right? They have to trespass you off the place. You return. Then it becomes criminal trespass. You have to be trespassed first, all right? And by trespassing, I mean the person who's responsible for the property, whether it be the owner or the property manager or whoever, has to call the police and say, look, I want this person trespassed off of this property. Now, trespassing doesn't get you arrested. You just get escorted off of there and told not to bring your ass back. Criminal trespass is when you come back again after being escorted off, after being told not to come back. Now it's criminal trespass because now you are literally somewhere where you have been told not to be. Not just by the person who owns said property or is responsible by said property, but also by the police. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
All right, Mr. Hart, can I have the history, please?
19 total. Last arrest was 2020 for trespass. He got time served for that. 2018 probation, theft of lost mislaid property, criminal trespass. Disorderly conduct conviction 2017. 2017 failure to appear and a probation violation. 2016 FTA. 2015 the trespass and theft conviction.
Now he's got like 3 other trespasses on his record, so he's a habitual trespasser. He is a habitual trespasser. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
2015 FTA, theft by receiving. 2014 shoplifting. 2014 probation.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes, Judge. On the 23rd of December, Mr. Crawford, officers respond to 985 Howell Place, Southwest Atlanta, Fulton County. He spoke with Ms. Tercia, Tercia Kindred, Kindred, who indicated that Mr. Crawford, without her consent, was unlawfully occupying the property in the in the back part of her property, using a self-made tent.
A self-made tent, whatever the hell that is. I guess he made it out of, I don't know, some cloth or some tarps or, she said self-made tent. I guess it wasn't like one of those tents, you buy from, the outdoor store like Dick's or something like that. He must have made it with some tarps and bed sheets and plastic bags. I don't know, but but we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
The bond right now is currently $1,000 surety. We're just asking that bond remain the same, given that he has at least 3 prior criminal trespasses, 2 FTAs, several VOPs. And so that he's definitely a flight risk, a concern not to return to court. And so we would just ask the court to leave the bond as is.
Yeah, he's got $1,000 bond already, all right, which comes out to $100, all right. So they're not, as you can tell, it's not that serious of a crime because he can pay $100 and he's out the door. So there is that. But we continue.
All right, thank you. Who represents this defendant?
I do, Your Honor, Ms. Hogue.
All right, Ms. Hogg, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Crawford is 42 years old, Your Honor. He's been in Georgia since 2007. That puts him here for at least 12, 14, 15 years. He recently moved to Nashville. That's why it appears, but he does have a stable address in Nashville as well.
Now, if he got a stable address in Nashville, why the hell is he living in a homemade tent behind someone's property? Now, that doesn't make any sense to me. You have a stable address in another state, but you're in Georgia living behind someone's property in a homemade tent, as per the Solicitor General. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Well, as he has family here. Mr. Crawford is what we call an urban farmer in a way. What he does is he renovates spots or places in the urban areas for vegetable gardens and things of that nature.
Oh, so he was living there because he's one of those urban farmers. He goes and pitches his tent in vacant properties, and he starts growing, tomatoes and melons and peppers and cabbage and lettuce, on these vacant lots. Now it all makes sense why he was there. He was about to start a farm in the back of these people's property without their permission. It all makes sense now. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
The property we're talking about is one that's in dispute, and it's got a civil suit against it for work that's been done there by Mr. Crawford for the fact that it's been an abandoned property for some time where he was working with it. So, Your Honor, there is...
Well, wait a minute. If the property's been abandoned for some time and he was working with it, how was this person able to criminal trespass him? Because like I said, for you to be criminal trespassed, you have to be trespassed first, right? Someone has to call the police, have you trespassed off said property. You have to return to said property for it to be considered criminal trespass now. So he had been trespassed off of that property before, meaning he had no right to it, meaning that it wasn't quote unquote just abandoned as they're trying to say right now. Because see, the fact that he was arrested for criminal trespass means he had been thrown off of it before. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
There's a potential civil suit going on here and dispute over the ownership of the property and whether or not it was an abandoned property to begin with.
Even if there is a civil dispute over the ownership of the property, guess what? He doesn't own it. Because if he did, they wouldn't have been able to criminal trespass his ass. But we continue.
So at this point, I do recognize that he does have a history, Your Honor, but it is not a violent history that I can see. It does have trespasses, but given that there is a question as to ownership of the property to...
Yes, he is a habitual criminal trespasser. Yes, he is. He's a serial trespasser. And look at the judge. The judge is like, what this lady is saying makes no goddamn sense. But we continue. Fair use, Negroes. Fair use.
Begin with, we would say we'd like a signature bond if possible. If not, reduce it to a $500 good bond, Your Honor, and that's all we're requesting.
All right, thank you. At this time, the bond will remain set at the $1,000 surety, and he is to stay away from the incident location. Is there any thing further?
No, Judge.
No.
All right, thank you.
Nothing further. He's a serial criminal trespasser that likes to go on people's property and claim to go there and farm it. Because notice they said nothing about the vegetables he grew there. Even though he has a place in Nashville now. Remember they said that too. He has a place in Nashville, but he chooses to live behind someone's building in Georgia. He's going to have to make an exodus in the name of justice. Yeah, he's going to have to make an exodus. But that being said, I want to go back to the domestic cases, right? Both cases that you saw, there was alleged domestic violence. The first case, both of them, the man and the woman, both got arrested for the same thing. You saw the Solicitor General push for him to have to leave his own place. Even her boss pushed for it off screen. And the judge said no. He gets to stay in his place. And then the second case, the Solicitor General pushed for the brother to not go back to his place. But the woman came on with the babies and she said, no, I want him to come back home. We're doing well now. This happened a while ago. We got an apartment together. We're raising these kids. I want the Negro to come back home. So the judge said he can go back home after he paid his $5,000 surety bond. Of course, he didn't get to sign on the dotted line. But if he paid that bond, he gets to go back to his house. And I think a degree of fairness was doled out in those cases. Because what often happens in these domestic cases is the man finds himself on the business end on this quote unquote justice. But not this time. The Honorable Judge Williams did not let the Solicitor General force a man from his home. I think they should consider themselves lucky, because if they had another judge, they probably would have had to leave their house, man. They wouldn't have been allowed to come back there. So they should thank Judge Williams that she doled out some fairness today as far as the men are concerned. Because I did not believe that they should have had to leave their homes because of these allegations. Like I said, the first dude, his house, he paid the bills, his name's on the paperwork. Him and the woman get arrested. It's his house, her ass need to get out. The second guy, the woman want him to come back home. So, let the brother go back home. To get back into it again, that's something else. Allegation was from a year ago. The girls said they're doing well now. The little tykes, they look happy. Let the man go back home. I think justice was served. Because I don't believe just because a man gets into an altercation at his house that he should now have to make an exodus from his house. But that's all. I appreciate you good folks, man, coming through here, man. You could have spent your time anywhere. You decided to spend it here with T.P.O.T, and it is appreciated. I don't take you good folks lightly, man. I never have and I never will. You got my word on that. So, with that, I will leave you good folk with 3 words. You know, like I always do. Open your mind. Peace, folk. X with another.
The darkness continues.
Only from T.P.O.T.